Welcome to the presentation, which topic is an investigation into the current communication practices of FTSE company when communicating with external customers. This project aims to investigate several components, which are methods of communication, advantages and disadvantages of methods of communication, analyze communication barriers, and recommended methods to improve communication. The company investigated is Tesco, which is a chain of British supermarkets and which main sector is food. According to Statista.com, there were, by 2015, there were over 3,485 stores in the UK.
There are many different ways that Tesco used to communicate with its customers. For instance, television, radio, face-to-face, billboards, emails, and so on. Tesco used television as a medium to advertise their goods and services to its customers. Generally, TV adverts last from 40 seconds to a minute. A lot of Tesco's TV adverts are of goods that are currently on sale or promotion, and these adverts will usually air during seasonal holidays such as Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter, and so on. Social media is another platform that Tesco used to communicate with its customers, for instance through the use of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Social media is a good way to communicate because it allows a two-way communication. Using social media, it creates awareness as so many people use it. Facebook, for instance, has over 1.5 billion users. Instagram has over 500 million users. Another way that Tesco communicates with its customers is through service desks, which are located inside all the supermarket stores. This allows people who need guidance in the store to go and ask for help through those customer service desks. There are many other ways which Tesco can communicate with its customers. For instance, newspapers. Tesco use newspapers to create awareness about the brand and about the business. Another method that Tesco uses is leaflets, where they can provide lots of information to customers about its goods and services. Tesco use face-to-face communication, but this method is usually used for personal selling, usually for the bank, as it needs that personal touch to it. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of the methods of communication mentioned? So for TV advertising, the advantages is that Tesco can advertise to a very large audience, as many people have TVs. For instance, in UK, 95% of homes have a television. Also with television, Tesco can target specific audiences. However, there are also a few disadvantages of using television. For instance, viewers usually ignore TV adverts as they use this time to go to the kitchen to get some food, or to go to the toilet, or to check their phones. Also, it's extremely costly. It can cost millions to advertise. There are many advantages of using social media. For instance, also with social media, there's a very large audience. Billions of people use social media on a daily basis. There are many different platforms which Tesco can choose from, for instance Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. So also it's free to use. It also allows a two-way communication between the customer and Tesco, as Tesco can respond to questions asked from customers. There are also a few disadvantages of using social media. For instance, continuous maintenance is required. Trolls can post negative comments which could harm Tesco's online reputation. Things can go viral very quickly on social media, so Tesco have to be very careful of what they put up on their social media. And also, social media is not for everyone. For instance, old people don't know how to use it. The advantages of using emails to communicate with customers is that it's a fast method of communication. Once the email is sent, the other person receives it instantly. It is also free to use, creates a two-way communication, and can be used across the world. Allows Tesco and its customers to communicate different files and documents with each other. However, there are also a few disadvantages. For instance, customers could get annoyed due to lots of promotional emails being sent to them by Tesco. Misunderstandings can occur, especially if the person sending the email has not read or checked what they have written down before sending the email. Emails can also get lost in junk and trash or spam. The advantages of using newspapers is that there's a very large audience as lots of people read it. Tesco can target who they want the advert to communicate with. For instance, if Tesco want to advertise an electronic gadget, Tesco can have their ad appear in the text section of the paper. It is also relatively cheap compared to other communication methods, for instance, television or radio advertising. However, there are also a few disadvantages. For instance, even though there's a very large readership of newspapers, it is on the decline due to social media becoming so big. Newspapers has a very short lifespan as they only last a day, meaning the advert that Tesco put up on the newspapers would only last a day as well. Ads are usually very clustered up, so people can miss them very easily. So what are the advantages of using face-to-face? As you are directly speaking to someone, there's less misunderstanding occurring as things are easier to explain, and if the other person doesn't understand something, they can easily clarify what has been said. Face-to-face helps build stronger relationships with their customers. Also, talking to someone face-to-face means you can get an immediate response. However, there are also a few disadvantages of using face-to-face. Firstly, it cannot be used to communicate with a large group of people. Face-to-face can only happen in small groups, like maximum of 4 people. It also takes lots of time as people have to meet and gather to have this face-to-face communication. Also, with face-to-face, as it's not written down, people can forget what had been discussed, whereas with emails and stuff, the people can go back and look at what had been discussed.
In terms of potential communication barriers, there are many different barriers. However, some of them doesn't apply to Tesco, and the ones that apply could be perceptual barrier, emotional barrier, and cultural barrier. Perceptual barrier. Hi, I'm looking for the product which was released recently, the new shampoo.
Okay. And?
Yeah, can you help me?
Not really.
Okay, thank you then. Emotional barrier. Okay.
Here you go, work for me.
Hi, yeah. Here's the work.
Oh, my wife left me.
Oh yeah, it's sad. Cultural barrier.
Hola, buenas, ¿qué tal?
استاذ العلومي ايش تكلمت؟
¿Qué dices?
تكلم عربي لو سمحت.
¿Qué?
Okay, recommendation for communication. Broad knowledge about given culture. Knowing how to specifically brand and sell their products to different types of cultures. For example, some names or products may not be accepted in some cultures, so having the right research allows you to adapt the products to its certain culture. Consider people's living area, so simple language that applies to every culture. Analyze types of customers in certain locations. If a certain Tesco supermarket attracted more men than women by a bigger percent, they could rearrange how the store is laid out, or even adapt that the store's products benefit the higher percentage. Sometimes too much is happening in the advertisements, so there's too many bright colours, for example. People can easily be confused, and sometimes adverts may not be simple enough to follow. Tesco could improve on the placement of their billboards. They could research where the majority of people traffic passes through. For example, using billboards on busy roads or motorways and crowded places to attract attention, which would improve communication. Making people like their job. Tesco will offer benefits to their employees to encourage them to want to work harder. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the conclusions. So Tesco use many different methods when it comes to communication. They use social media, TV adverts, customer service desks, newspapers, and face-to-face are all ways in which Tesco communicates with its customers. The advantages of having all these methods is it attracts all kinds of people. It allows Tesco to promote deals to its customers and keeps people informed. There are also many disadvantages, some of which include not being able to have face-to-face communication with every customer. People get frustrated with the constant emails they receive and having to keep up to date on social media and so on. Tesco also faces barriers, whether that be communicational barriers between countries or the language, or perceptual barriers with certain cultures. All of the methods that Tesco use are efficient in their end result, even with the disadvantages attached to them. Why? They are constantly attracting people into their stores and they are constantly adapting to modern day society. So although Tesco does use TV to advertise, they only tend to advertise on certain events such as holidays. They can improve this by having more adverts outside of that. So they could also research into what TV channels have more people watching and also research at what time the majority of people are watching TV. Based on that research, they could then choose when to advertise their products. Followed on from that, if some channels are used for certain cultures, they could then use that information to adapt adverts to promote items suited to that culture. This both improves communication with the customers but also avoids offending people. Having people from different cultures and backgrounds work for Tesco allows improved communication, especially in store, and reduce the amount of physical barriers in Tesco stores to allow for better communication.